Hey, this is Tony. Welcome to my corner of the DVD. We're going to talk about some lead playing. So grab your guitar, get a beer, let's give this a shot. It's really cool to see lead coming back. For a while in the 90s, it seemed like lead guitar had fallen out of favor. It's good to see kids practicing their arpeggios and scales. I teach guitar. A lot of my students want to learn how to play and how to shred. So that's what we're going to work on today. The first thing that people think about whenever they think about shredding, especially in the metal context, is sweep picking. So let's try some sweep picking examples. You take the pick and you more or less brush it across the strings in a series of consecutive downstrokes or upstrokes. Something like, there I played 3 down. Here, I played 3 up. The upshot of that, the advantage, is that you can play a lot of notes pretty fast with minimal right hand movement. So you might get something like I don't care much for progressions like that. That's like a standard neoclassical progression. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just so many bands do that I tend to avoid it. If I'm going to sweep pick, I try to sweep pick stuff that maybe a lot of people wouldn't do. For instance, I might take a blues lick and sweep pick it. I might play something really slow. Instead of just like a standard major or minor arpeggio, I might play with something that has a little bit more color, like a minor 11th. But a lot of times people will talk to me about sweep picking, about some ideas on the album, and other than those few examples that I play, I really don't do a lot of sweep picking, and I'll show you why. Sweep picking involves, like I said before, moving consecutively down, consecutively up. And so if I play that fast, that's okay, but I kind of hear the notes in the middle running together. It's not as clear or articulate as it could be. So sometimes I'll get around that using an idea called string skipping. If I'm going to play the same arpeggio using string skipping, I might take this note, put it here. That leaves me with a pattern. Start on the D, G, E, skip the B, back to the G. By skipping the B string, I now have a little more control over the picking and the dynamics, and it just sounds a little more articulate. So let's apply this to some real-world situations. There's a solo on one of our songs called Ancestor of the Antichrist, and people think I'm sweeping that, and I'm not. I'm using that concept of string skipping. Here's the lick if I were to try to play it with sweeping. It would sound like... And that's okay, but that's all the speed I can get on that. If I distribute the notes around the neck a little better, I can now play it on just the G and E strings. And that gives me a little bit more to work with. Now I'm not all encumbered with the picking that I get from all the troubles I get from the sweep picking. I can just jump across the E and the G strings. So this gets into the realm of some wide interval playing, where I'm using my fingers to make some bigger stretches across the neck in order to find those notes. I don't have really big hands, and you don't have to have big hands to do that. You can actually practice stretching exercises and things like that to try to get your hands into shape for some of that. So let's take a look at some other wide interval type licks. The solo in Pity None, for example, it uses a B flat minor, E flat minor arpeggio. If I had to sweep pick it, again, I can't play that very fast because I'm too concerned with what I'm doing here. But if I take those notes and spread them out across the neck, I can kind of get some different sounds that way. And that just sounds a little more legato, it sounds a little more melodic to my ears, and that's something that I like working on. Okay, so sweep picking, string skipping, wide interval playing, those are all some ways to incorporate some different ideas into your playing and break you out of the regular major and minor and pentatonic boxes that a lot of people tend to get locked into. Let's talk now about a concept that I call modular soloing. That's just a convenient term that works for me. Let me explain what it is, and I'm going to give you a few examples. All you do is you take a very simple idea, 3-4 notes, and you experiment. You move that around the neck to different areas, different string groups, different keys, and try to find lines and ideas that work with the chords or riffs that are going by underneath. Let me give you a bit of a history lesson with this. This kind of thing started with, one of the clearest examples is with Van Halen. Back in the day with I'm the One. He might do something like taking a simple phrase and moving that across all 4 strings. And then doing it fast as hell. It's not in a particular key, it just sounds cool. That's the most important thing. Now, skip ahead a few years. A guitar player like Dimebag Darrell would take that same concept, and like in his solo from Cowboys from Hell, he would take a simple 3-note idea and move that across all 6 strings. So I might take the same idea and incorporate it into a song like Five Faces of Madness, where you get something like... and the cool thing about playing like that is you get notes that fall outside of the key. Some of the notes that I was playing there are not in the key of D minor, which is going on, that's the chords going on underneath. And that's okay. It's okay to play notes that don't necessarily fit with the chords that are going on underneath sometimes. In fact, to sound cool, sometimes you have to break the rules and play notes that don't belong at all. The key is knowing the scales, knowing what notes fall outside of the scale, and being able to emphasize those or de-emphasize those to get the sound that you want. So let's look at some other ways to incorporate modular playing. Here's a simple D minor 7 thing. And by moving that around the neck, I get something like... Then up to speed. So we were talking about notes that fall outside of the key. This is an example from Redneck War. I'm playing a 4-note shape. And moving that around to different string sets and different frets. If I speed it up. Another small example of some outside playing. This also from Five Phases of Madness. Here is a chord. Don't try to analyze it, don't try to give it a name. It's D minor 6, sharp 5, but if you think of it that way, you've got your head up your ass. So we just take something like this, move it around the neck, maybe arpeggiate it. Lastly, regular D blues, the blues scale. You can get a lot of noise from the blues scale. If I take the notes from the blues scale and play them on one string, play them on another string, play them on those 2 strings at the same time and put a note in the middle. So thanks for checking out all these licks. If this stuff went by kind of fast, I know I just glossed over a lot of stuff. You can buy our album, And They Shall Take Up Serpents. There's tabs on the album. You just pop it into your computer, it comes up. You can check all this stuff out, speed it up, slow it down, come up with your own licks, and just experiment with it. Keep in mind that this lead stuff, it's fun, it's very entertaining, it's a good way to get to know your instrument. The most important thing is just to write good songs though. Playing guitar is not a competition, and it's not about seeing who can play faster than anyone else. And if you have any questions about this stuff, hit me up on our MySpace or talk to me at shows, and we'll be happy to jam, work this out, throw back a few beers and talk about it. Thanks.